Greetings to you and welcome to this episode of Grace Podcast. I'm Timothy Muse. I'll be your host as we spend this time together today. It's a joy to be with you. I want to thank you for tuning in. I want to thank you for making this podcast a part of your journey. I want to thank you for being on the journey, for being on this path, for wanting to grow and be better. It is so awesome that you're here. It is so awesome that you're digging in and looking in. Thank you for that. And thank you for allowing me to come alongside you. It truly is a joy for me to be able to be here, to walk with you, to offer you a nugget, to give you some encouragement, maybe a little bit of a push. That's what I want to do. And so thank you for tuning into this podcast and allowing me to do that. If it is helpful, please share it out there. Put it out there on your social media feeds. I post on LinkedIn, X, Instagram, and Facebook. If you follow me or the life coaching on any one of those feeds, you're going to see this episode. And share it out there. Give us a tag. I'd love to see where you're at. I'd love to see where you're listening at. If you're on one of the listening platforms, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or Amazon Music, follow us. Give us a rating and review. Every positive rating and review tells the platform that people are listening, and you'll get a notification for a new episode. And if you want to reach out to me, as always, gracelifecoaching.com. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to communicate, love to talk, love to see where you're at. Any way that I can help out, any way I can come alongside you, that would be incredibly awesome. gracelifecoaching.com is the website. Reach out to me, text me, message me. I'd love to hear from you. It would be truly, truly awesome. So we've been walking through this series of looking at spring and preparing for spring. And what does this time tell us? What can we learn from where the earth is at right now, where the season is at right now? You know, we really don't want to reinvent the wheel. We don't need to. We can look around us. We can take in what is being taught us. And so I'm really glad that you're back here as we continue to move on with this series of, discovering the purpose of waiting and how waiting can really help us. We looked at emotional winter and we practiced clearing out old soil, and we've begun building habits that prepare for life for a new season. Today, I want to keep going deeper, and I want to get into the process where preparation begins to shift into intentional action. We've been spending a lot of time thinking about what's going on in our head, what's going on in our bodies, but now it's time to start having some action. Now, as winter starts to fade and spring starts to just come onto the horizon, we want to start thinking some action steps. Because everything you want in life, my friends, every goal, every change, every dream, every shift in confidence, energy, relationships, or purpose, it begins with a seed. Planting good seeds, choosing what long-term impact looks like for you. Seeds are small, they're ordinary, they're easy to overlook in life, but powerful. And so I want to explore how planting the right seeds in your life, how those small choices turn into long-term transformation. And that's really what we want to do. If you've ever planted something, maybe a tomato or cucumbers or flowers or herbs, you know this. The seed doesn't look like the harvest. When you open them little packets and you pour out the seeds in your hand, they don't look like the harvest. You can't cut up one of them seeds and have a nice tomato salad. A tiny tomato seed contains no visible clue that it will become a plant that produces pounds of fruit. But it will if planted. And that's the thing. You can have packets of tomato seeds, my friends, and all those packets can sit on the shelf. But if you don't plant them, then they're not going to grow. So they'll grow when they plant. This is the same way with your life. Planting good seed for positive impact. Seeds like a 5-minute walk for a healthier body, or 2 minutes of meditation can lead to emotional resilience. A single honest conversation can heal a relationship. Reading 1 page a day can create a lifelong learner. Stocking a little bit of money away can create financial stability. Writing 1 paragraph a day can lead to a book. Small choices with massive impact. It's the same way that nurture multiplies what you plant. Life multiplies your tiny daily actions. You don't need to overhaul everything. This is a big thing. You don't need to overhaul everything. You just need to plant the right seeds. Just plant the right seeds. So let's define this clearly. Let's get a little bit deeper into what we're talking about when we talk about seeds in real life. And I know you've heard me say this before, and I'm going to say it again because I really do think it is important. I've never really called it a seed, but I'll call it a seed this time. But here it is. A small action repeated consistently with long-term intention behind it that aligns with who you want to be. Okay? A seed is a small action, a small thing, repeated consistently, constantly, with long-term intention behind it that aligns with who you want to become. That's what a seed is. I called it discipline, small things done over and over again for a long period of time. Same idea. They're not dramatic. They aren't impressive. And they don't even look like change at first. They really don't. But they create change. They create change. A small thing done over and over again creates change. Some examples of a seed in your life could be sending one encouraging text a day to someone, or walking around the block, or writing down 3 things you're grateful for. Big fan of gratitude journaling. Drinking 1 extra glass of water a day, or, reading for 5 minutes at night. Practicing 1 boundary per week. We've talked about boundaries, the importance of boundaries. Pausing before reacting. Scheduling 10 minutes of quiet time. Maybe putting aside $10 a week. Or choosing 1 healthier food option. Any one of those things, they're not overwhelming, okay? They're not overwhelming. They're not intimidating. They're not complicated, but they're transformative. Maybe not if you're doing it once, but when you do it over and over. That's the thing. Small action repeated consistently over a long period of time with intention behind it will lead to dramatic change. It's an important reality. Because to be truthful, most results in life are not products of big moments, right? I mean, we have big moments, important moments, but they're not products of moments. A lifelong marriage is not the product of the wedding day. It's the product of the small work that is done. The product comes from small, repeated moments over and over. Consistency is greater than intensity, and that's really true in life. You think about it. You could go to the gym for 4 hours once a month. And are you going to get results? No, you're not. But 20 minutes 3 times a week is going to equal 4 hours in a month, but that's life-changing, okay? You can't meditate for 2 hours once a month and expect calm, but 60 seconds daily, that's powerful. You can't fix a relationship with 1 big gesture, but 5 minutes of kindness every day, that builds connection, all right? Intensity burns fast. Consistency builds roots, and roots are what survive storms and grow. The deeper your roots, the stronger the fruit. The deeper the roots go down, the bigger the tree goes up. Very important. And we don't do that with intensity. Intensity burns fast. No, we do that with consistency. Consistent action over a long period of time. So let's talk about choosing what seeds to plant. When you're thinking about what seeds to plant now, if you're looking out going, okay, what seeds do I plant? Don't ask yourself, what have I always done? Or what have I always been? Or what did I fail at before? What didn't work last time? Those questions are going to anchor you in the past. They're going to anchor you in what you've done, in what hasn't worked that has brought you to this point. No, we want to shift our mindset. We want to shift our thinking. And so we want to think differently. Like, who am I becoming? What does the next version of me need? What kind of future do I want to grow into? The future version of you should be choosing your seeds, not the old patterns. All right? The future version of you should be choosing your seeds, not the old patterns, because you want to grow into something that will be the best that you can be, your best life. That's what you're really striving for. So you want to plant seeds that are going to lead to that life, not into the old patterns. So don't ask what have I always done? Or what do I know that's going to grow in this soil? Or, what have I always been? Or what shouldn't I plant because I failed there before? What didn't work last time? No. Don't dwell in those questions. Dwell in the what am I becoming? What's next for me? And what fruit do I need in order to live into that? If the future you that you're looking at is calmer or healthier, more grounded maybe, or more confident, more connected, more purposeful, more financially secure, more courageous, then plant the seeds that support that identity. The future you is the gardener, not the past you. The current you is planting the seeds, but the seeds are going to grow into the future you, not the past you. Okay? Think about that. When you're planting a seed in the ground, you're planting a tomato seed, you're planting for the future of the production of the plant, not for the current seed. You're planting it for the future. So plant your seed into what you're becoming. What am I growing into? Not where have I come from? So let's look at 4 quadrants of seed planting in our own lives. There are 4 areas where seeds grow best. There's emotional seeds. They shape our internal world. Emotional seeds are like naming your emotions daily. That sounds like something that, we probably do often, or we should do often, but we don't. Naming your emotions daily. What am I feeling right now? What's going on inside my head right now? Where am I at right now? Am I sad? Am I happy? Am I blasé? Am I balanced? Am I imbalanced? Where am I at? Gratitude practices. This is a great emotional seed. What am I grateful for? What am I grateful for in my life right now? Maybe it's the smallest of things, but it helps us to focus on that growth mindset and coming from a better place. Compassion towards yourself. We have a great deal of compassion for others. People can make mistakes and fail us, and we're just going to give them a great deal of compassion because that's what we do as humans. But we don't always do that for ourselves. So compassion for ourselves. Reducing self-criticism, tearing ourselves apart. Choosing calm instead of urgency. These are emotional seeds. And you can plant one of those emotional seeds, and let it grow, and you will see how your emotional being, your inner being will change. Physical seeds. These support your energy and vitality. Physical seeds like hydration, or sleep consistency, or gentle movement, or stretching, or improving nutrition. Look, I know we've talked about these before, but they keep coming back up because they're so fundamental and so foundational in our growth. When we can master these little seeds and we can grow into these physically, we feel so much better. And when we feel better, we think better. When we think better, we do better, and that's when we grow, okay? We don't grow when we feel bad. So what's one of these physical seeds that you can pluck out and say, you know what, I'm going to work on this physical seed today? Mental seeds. Now, this is different than emotional seeds. Mental seeds lean far more towards, strengthening your clarity and focus, your thinking, your mental capacity. These could be things like reading or journaling. Limiting your screen time. That's a huge thing, my friends. If you don't know, you can go on to your phone. And I know I've said this before too, but it's important. Go to your phone, and there's a place in the settings where you can check the amount of screen time you have, how much you're looking at the screen, and what things you're looking at. Limit that. The more we scroll and scroll and scroll, the more we compare. The more we compare, the less we feel good about ourselves. And the less we're not really bringing something into our mental being. We're just existing and really kind of using time unwisely, I think I would probably say the best. So limit screen time. Practicing expectations. What do you expect of yourself? Reframing negative thoughts. We all have those. They're all part of our being. Negative thoughts. Reframing them into something more. What's one of those things that you can do? One of those things you can pluck out. And then there's relational seeds. This is the 4th one. These build meaningful connections. Meaningful connections are so important. It is better for our life to have 5 close friends than 100 acquaintances. Meaningful connections. Reaching out intentionally. Connecting the people that matter. Practicing listening. You know what? Just practicing listening. Listening to where other people are at. Setting boundaries. I've talked about boundaries. But they are so important. Repairing old tensions. They're all there. We all have them. Old relationships that maybe not fall apart, but maybe have kind of drifted away because of some kind of tension here or there. Making time for important people. That includes yourself, by the way. Making time for important people. Look, you don't need all of these seeds. Just pluck one, pluck 2. What is 1 or 2 things that you can do? Small movements that are done consistently with intention behind them to help you grow into your next self. Now, here's the rub. Here's what I want to make sure that we talk about, and that is the patience problem. We are very impatient people as humans. We want to plant something and expect a full blossom within a week. Why don't I see results? Why don't I see things happening? Why isn't my life changing right now? Because seeds develop underground first. That's the really important part about growing seeds. And I remember as a kid in elementary school, we would plant seeds, but they would be planted in like a glass jar. So we could see what happens underground with the roots sprouting out and the seed cracking open. And then comes the stalk. Then comes the plant. It's roots before branches. It's depth before height. It's foundation before fruit. But we struggle with our patience while that root is growing, while that depth is being achieved, while that foundation is being created. Your habits might already be working, my friends. You just don't see the results yet. The early growth is invisible. It's always invisible. And most people quit right when the roots are forming, right when things begin. Don't quit the seed just because the sprout hasn't appeared. Trust the process. Growth is happening beneath the surface. Just be patient with it. Be patient and allow that growth to come forward, because it's a really, really important thing. It's a really, really important place. So make sure you plant the right seed. How do you know it's the right seed? Because it's going to make your life feel lighter. The wrong seed's going to make your life feel more pressured. All right? A good seed feels doable. It feels accessible. It feels like something you want to protect. A forced seed feels heavy. It feels like punishment. It feels unsustainable. So if you choose the seed of movement, let's say you're going to move your body, physical seed, you're going to move your body, but you hate going to the gym. But you've said, I'm going to plant going to the gym every day, but every day you go, you hate it. You have to force yourself to go there. You have to force yourself to do it. Then you're not planting the right seed. The seed of movement is important, but maybe you need to fertilize it with something else. All right? If you're dreading doing it, it's not a seed, it's a burden. Seeds should feel like small, hopeful actions. So maybe movement isn't going to the gym. Maybe it's doing a little chair yoga off of YouTube, or maybe it is doing something of that nature. But if it feels heavy, then you've planted the wrong seed, or maybe you're expecting the wrong fruit out of that seed. So you want to make sure that you plant the right seed, something that can grow in your life, that is powerful and important and meaningful, but not something that's a burden, not something that's heavy or unacceptable or undoable. We don't want to do that. So I would encourage you this week, coming out of this session of this podcast, to choose three seeds, all right? One emotional, one physical, and one mental, all right? Or relational, mental or relational, one of the four I talked about. Choose three of them. And make sure they're less than 5 minutes, so you can do them repeatedly daily. And maybe you're already doing this. Maybe you've already chosen something like this before, and you're already doing it. It's repeatable. And it supports the version that you're becoming, who you want to become. Make sure that it feels light and not heavy. You don't want it to feel like a burden. You want it to feel light. But it's also supporting who you want to become. And if you don't know who you want to become, maybe I'll insert this right here. If you don't know who you want to become, maybe this is a good time to really sit down and think about who you want to become. Who do you want as the next version of yourself? Because if you don't know that, then you're not going to plant the right seed. Who do you want to become next? And then plant the seed. And then constantly continue to ask. Commit to these 3 seeds, whatever they are, for a week. And then ask yourself, how has my energy shifted? How is my mindset stabilized? How are my days feeling more intentional? How are these small actions creating momentum? Because once momentum begins, once the seed begins to grow, it grows very quickly. Not in a dramatic way, but a sustainable, steady movement. Remember this. You don't need to plant a forest, okay? You just need to plant a few good seeds. Life multiplies when you nurture it. Your future responds to what you practice. And small choices, consistently taken, create the most extraordinary transformations. While others are waiting for the perfect moment, you're planning the future right now. While others are hoping for change, you're cultivating it every day. And that's what you want to do. Plant those seeds that will create the next you, the one that you want to become. That's what I got for you for today, my friends. I hope it's helpful. I really do. If it is, please share it out there. Put it out there on your social media feeds. If you're on one of the listening platforms, follow us. Give us a rating and review. And if you want to reach out to me directly, as always, GraceLifeCoaching.com is the website. I truly would love to hear from you. If you want to do some coaching, you got some questions, just trying to dig into some things, I would love to hear from you. GraceLifeCoaching.com is the website. Reach out to me. At Grace Life Coaching, we want you to be the best you.